Hello Science Alliance! Hello, I am Lara. This is Theory of Science. I teach lessons for free online. This is not a lesson because I'm not really going to ask you any questions. It's just kind of a relaxed chat about a thing that I learned about this week with a Lego Storytime show at the end. Do you want a sneaky peek? Poop. There we go. And what I've been learning about this week is, well, the 4 big inventions of ancient China. It's a thing, I would explain, but one of the big inventions, spoiler, of ancient China is paper. So we're going to make our own paper. I mean, we're going to use paper that is already made to make more paper, but it counts. What you need to do, first of all, what you need to be doing throughout most of what I'm saying now, and I'm going to do it too, is tear any paper that you've got, any scrap paper, into tiny little pieces and put it in a bowl. And then if it's not a very good activity, you don't like getting messy, because we're going to eventually pour water on all the little pieces, mush it, and then sieve it, and then slap it on an old tea towel and make it a nice shape and leave it to dry. And then it's actually paper that you can write on. Right, so I will get tearing. I didn't think this through because the tearing is obviously quite loud. Sorry about that. Yeah, the 4 inventions of ancient China are paper, printing, the compass, and gunpowder. And when I read about this, I thought, oh yeah, China, you know, they're really great at advertising. They want everyone to think that China is great. Someone in China has looked at all the things that got invented in China in the olden times and been like, oh right, we'll call these the 4 big inventions. But no, actually, this idea of China coming up with these special inventions that changed the world, it actually comes from a chap called Francis Bacon, who was a British scientist in like the 1600s. It says here, so Francis Bacon wrote this really big famous book in 1620 where he wrote, printing, gunpowder and the compass have changed the appearance and state of the whole world, first in literature, then in warfare, and lastly in navigation. No empire or star, you know how everyone thought that like the stars were in charge of their fates. No empire or star appears to have exercised a greater power and influence on human affairs than these mechanical discoveries. What an amazing thing to say. So no star that controls the fates, no like empire like the Roman Empire has had more of an impact on humans than just these 3 little mechanical devices, says Francis Bacon. He actually thought that all those things had been invented in Europe because he just didn't know his history very well. So that kind of makes it an even more unbiased source, that it's not just China being great at advertising. These are genuinely inventions that without them, humans would maybe just be on a completely different path. And then they sort of added paper in later on. So right, we need to look at dynasties, or dynasties. When you look up the history of China and when things were invented, you don't get a date. You get told, oh, it was in the Tang dynasty or the Qing dynasty. So we need to talk about what that actually means. In China, for a long time, the sort of being in charge would get passed on through the same family. So a person was in charge, and then when they died, their son or daughter would be in charge, and then when they died, their son would be in charge. So like the Han dynasty, or dynasty, it goes on for like hundreds of years because it's not just one king or whatever, one emperor. But it's been passed through the Han family until eventually another family took over. And then only in like 1911 there was a huge rebellion, and now it's the People's Republic of China, and they don't do dynasty anymore. But here is a beautiful thing that someone put on Wikipedia. I'm a terrible person, I haven't even credited them, but look. It's a timeline of Chinese history, and you can see there's the Shang dynasty, right? Han, it goes all the way along like this until it gets to the end. So we'll talk about paper first because we are making paper. And paper making starts to happen during the Han dynasty. Look, they've even written it on. So this is between like 8 AD and the year 25. We're talking sort of in the very early hundreds. Hello. So we looked at last week how the Sumerians, who were around even before this time, they were around 2,000 years before the year 0. They were writing, they kind of invented writing, as did a lot of other cultures, and they were writing on clay. And then the Egyptians came along and they were writing on papyrus. So that's one of the options of this time. I'll show you a picture of some papyrus. I hope you're still tearing. Here we go. It's just a plant, right? And what they used to do was cut strips of papyrus, just get this sticky bit in the middle of the stem, and then lie out the slices, and then lay them across in like a 90-degree angle the other way, and then the other way again, and then just sort of press it all down so it was a mat. So I always thought papyrus was kind of like paper, but it's really not the same. And in China, before paper gets invented, they're doing this. I love this. I love that someone put this on the internet. So it looks like someone could have made this yesterday, right? These are sticks of bamboo tied together with some writing on them. But look, this amazing person who put this on Wikimedia Commons even put in the little description in the museum. So we know that these sticks of bamboo are from the year 42 BC, about 2,000 years ago. And this is an officer in the army basically writing to say, please can I have a couple of days off because my dad's just died. But isn't that just incredible that has lasted that long? Like 2,000 years old. But yeah, that's what they used to do. They used to write on strips of bamboo. And then the story goes, I'll just show you. I can't flip you again. This chap called Kai Lun, who was a kind of, what do you call them? Not assistant, like worked in the court anyway. He was given the job of dealing with a lot of these strips of bamboo, and they all fell off a cart, and they had to wait for a whole new bull to come to pull another new cart and pick all the bits of bamboo off the ground. And Kylan had a lot of thinking time and was like, this is not the way that we should be writing. So he had a look around as he was walking along. He looked at some plants, like, oh, can we write on that? And then he found a cocoon, apparently, which has a lot of soft fibres. And it just came to him, I can find lots of stuff that is made of tiny little fibres, mash it all up and make paper. So that's what he did. He got lots of friends in the court to help him. Apparently grabbed like bits of cloth and fishing nets and bits of wood. So if we were making paper properly, like Kai Lun, who invented it, you would just be grabbing, I don't know, like bits of Cheerio and dust off the floor, but we'll stick with paper. Yeah, and so paper was invented. Right, I think that's all I'm going to say about paper. Let's move on. Maybe we should move on. Have you done enough cutting? When you think you've done enough shredding, yeah, I think I have, then you get to pour water onto the bits and squish. So if you don't like squishing things, I don't know, get an adult to do it. Like, what are they in the room for if they're not going to squish for you? But I'm going to pour some water into my shredded up paper now. So yeah, not dissimilar to how paper was invented, except it wouldn't, obviously they didn't start with paper because they didn't have paper, did they? But this is how paper is recycled now. You get existing paper and you mush it up. This paper, annoyingly and slightly ironically, it can't be recycled after we've made this paper. But you can compost it, like you could bury it somewhere. That's why I said not to use too colourful or too glossy paper, because apparently you can't recycle that. Right. Now I've got wet hands. I want to flip you again, because we're going to talk about printing. Here we are. So we are moving along to the Tang Dynasty, when printing was invented. So we've had paper for quite a long time, but people were just writing on paper by hand. Don't think about what a phenomenal thing it is to be able to print the same words over and over and over and over again. So yeah, printing was developed in China it was a Buddhist country, and it was not a coincidence actually that Buddhist people invented printing, because in Buddhism, I haven't done a lot of research into Buddhism, so apology if you are a Buddhist and I get this wrong, but spreading the word of Buddha is a good deed if you can pass on to people what Buddha has said. So obviously having to write down the words of Buddha by hand and like hand them out, it's taking a long time. You can get a lot more what's called merit if you can do the good deed by like printing it. So that's what they did. This is the earliest printed book that we have. And it's called the Diamond Sutra. The sutra is what the Buddhists call like the word of Buddha, Buddhist teachings. Here we go. The Diamond Sutra, this was printed in 868. It's the oldest book ever found. It's not what we would think of as a book. It's individual pages that were printed, but then they were joined together to make this scroll over 5 meters long. Look at that. Here's a close-up of the front. So it's actually in the British Library, which might seem a bit weird. So this is Buddha, I should say, and his disciples here all around him. It was discovered in a cave. I'm just going to if you've ever made pastry, I'm doing this with my paper. I'm just squishing and mushing. Yeah, in China, it was only discovered in about 1900. A monk found a sealed up cave. There's a lot of very famous caves in China, and one of them was sealed up, and this monk went inside and found apparently thousands and thousands of really, really ancient printed things that had been hidden there. So what the monk did, he just started giving them away or selling them to raise money to look after the caves. And then a British, oh, was he British? A European explorer went over there, and there might have been some sort of dodgy dealings, but anyway, he persuaded the monk to sell him some of the things and brought them back. And one of the things he brought back was the Diamond Sutra, which is now is in the British Museum. So if you're in Britain like me, at least you get to go and see it. Pretty cool. Anything else I'd like to say about printing before we go? Oh yeah, so printing started off as, you can kind of see it. You know, have you ever done a rubbing? You put some paper on a raised thing and rub crayon over the top and it appears. They started doing that because obviously that's quite a quick way to reproduce the same words over and over and over again. But then that led to them carving like letters or whole words or pictures and printing them onto paper, which they had. And then someone discovered that actually wood is a bit absorbent, isn't it? Like if you press wood onto paper, it sort of looks a bit patchy. So they made clay tiles with just, I keep saying letter, it's Chinese, so like symbol, that could be rearranged, and that made it a lot faster. And eventually, it takes quite a long time, but in Europe, a chap called Gutenberg invented the Gutenberg press, which sort of improved printing even more. But very much a Chinese invention. Right, I've got this lovely gross soup here. You're supposed to really let it soak for like a day, but I'm not going to do that, obviously. Yeah, let's move on. Oh no! I did get a little quote from the Diamond Sutra for you to read because it's just gorgeous. Look. So you should view this fleeting world: a star at dawn, a bubble in a stream, a flash of lightning in a summer cloud, a flickering lamp, a phantom, and a dream. Oh. So that's allegedly what Buddha said, and if you could pass on the words of Buddha, you got what's called credit, and credit just kind of makes you live a happier life. So it makes sense, doesn't it? You do a good deed, spreading the word of Buddha, your life gets better. Credit, nice. Anyway, right, moving swiftly on, we need to talk about the compass. That was invented in China. It was almost kind of invented twice. It was invented during the Han Dynasty, you remember? They did paper as well. But it didn't really look like the compass that we know today. It looked like this. They made a metal spoon out of a naturally magnetic material, and they put it on this plate, but it wasn't used for finding your way around. It was actually used for what's called divination or feng shui. It was used to predict the future, because obviously it almost like magically pointed different ways when you carried it around. So we think of now feng shui as being like where best to put a chair in your room. But to the ancient Chinese, compasses were very, very important for sort of predicting things or knowing where the best place was to go or where things should go or even when certain things should happen. But yeah, it wasn't actually until the Tang Dynasty, just bouncing between the two, that they started using compasses for navigation, which I think is what really changed the world, because suddenly you don't have to navigate using the stars, so you can navigate even when it's very cloudy. Fantastic. I mean, we need to do a whole show about like explorers navigating, don't we, on ships. Here's a picture of what the compass would have looked like that they used for navigation. It's called the south pointing fish. So the Earth is basically a massive magnet. Forgive me, I'm a physics teacher. Can I talk about magnetism a little bit while you're finishing squishing your paper? You ever got two magnets? You push them towards each other, they either repel each other, they push away from each other, right? Or they attract each other, but you can feel them pushing or pulling before they're touching. That's because magnets are surrounded by a magnetic field. It's like a force field. Force fields are real. So the Earth has got a lot of liquid metal in it that's sloshing around, and it is making this massive magnetic field around the whole Earth. And it was the Chinese that discovered that some metals are basically the particles in the metal is like lots of tiny little compasses all pointing in different, lots of tiny magnets all pointing in different directions. And if you stroke them metal with a magnet, you line up all the tiny little magnets inside it so they all point one way and you've got yourself a magnet. So the Chinese did that with like a little pin to turn it into a magnet, and they put the pin in a fish for their own reasons, which I haven't looked up, and then they put the fish in some water and then the bit pointed like north and south. You can do it yourself. Stroke a pin with a magnet, put it on like a leaf is a good one, float that in water. There you go, you can do this when you've cleaned up after the lesson. Right, let's move on to the last invention, shall we? If you finish this bit, great sound effect for this part, you need to sieve your paper. You just need to put the sieve over a bowl and then slop paper into a bowl like this. Look away if you don't like sloppiness. Yeah. I'm going to put a drop more water in to swish it around to make sure I've got all my paper. And then yeah, just leave that to sieve for a bit. You don't need it to be too dry. You can go. Where are you going to go? Go down there. You can go down there too. Yeah, right. Last invention. Where are we? Gunpowder. This is a great story. That was invented in the Tang Dynasty as well. It's very famous for its fantastic culture and inventions, the Tang Dynasty. Around, well, it's when the Vikings were in Britain, isn't it? Sort of around the 800s. So I'm reading notes. I'm actually reading notes that I wrote in my supporter magazine on Guy Fawkes that I wrote ages ago. But I'm just going to... Here we go. Yeah. So in China, in 850... scientists were using this white powder called potassium nitrate because they thought potassium nitrate mixed with something else was the secret to living forever. They were trying to invent some kind of magical elixir that would make people live forever. So some scientists got potassium nitrate and they added a little sprinkling of sulfur and charcoal. And they didn't live forever. They burned their faces very badly and some of them burned their houses down because they had accidentally invented gunpowder. It's an amazing invention, actually. So charcoal is the fuel, you know, like you burn wood, you burn charcoal, but the sulfur gives off energy at very low temperatures. So you don't need to get it very hot before it starts giving off a lot of energy, which is why you can just use like one match. But it's the potassium nitrate that is really amazing because you might know that to make things burn, you need oxygen, right? So if you put a glass over a candle, the candle goes out because it needs oxygen from the air. But the oxygen doesn't have to come from the air. So the potassium nitrate gives oxygen to the reaction. So this is why you should never try and stamp out a firework with your foot because you're trying to put it out by taking away its air. It doesn't need your air. It's got potassium nitrate, which is still giving oxygen to the charcoal. But gunpowder doesn't need oxygen from the air to burn. Doesn't need air to burn. Amazing. So the Chinese very quickly realised that this would not make them live forever, but it would make their enemies live for less time. So they started attaching it to arrows and firing it at people. Super fun times. It was so successful that the Chinese emperor said, right, don't tell anyone else this recipe for gunpowder. This is ours. It's too late. Someone had already sold it to like a load of tourists and gunpowder spread around the world. Hooray! So that's the story of gunpowder. Let's finish off making this paper and then we can go to Lego Storytime, which is all about paper. I feel bad. I felt like Lego Storytime probably should have been about a bit more about China, but I found out something and I just had to tell you. So it's about paper. Right, I'll better flip you around for this bit. So I've got a very old muslin cloth here that my children have puked on many times. I've got some wet paper in a sieve and you got to do this. It's quite technical. You ready? You watching? There we go. Brilliant. So I'm going to push that out a bit. Yeah, I think it's better actually if it's still a bit wet. Just slop it into place. Oh yeah. There we go. So I suppose it'd be better really if you got it quite thin, but it's more robust if it's thick. Here's what I made yesterday. Oh, Bastian, are you watching? If Bastian's here, when we did this, there you go. Then you just press the tea towel or whatever you're using over the top to get some of the water out. When we did this lesson a few years ago, we were doing about recycling and reusing, and Bastian sent me recycled paper that he had made with like a message on it and a picture of one of the Theatre of Science mascots, Forkish. It was so cool, and I still have it, and it's better than mine, so I'm going to show you that one. There you go. So leave that to dry for ages, and then cut it out. You can write on it. Bastian, I thought I wouldn't show them the message because you might not want me to. Might be a personal message. But look, this is the paper that Bastian made. Isn't it brilliant? Goes well with our weather topic. Kind of looks like a little cloud. I'm just going to leave it floating there. There. So that's what it looks like when it goes hard. Okay, right, yes. Story time. Story time. Let's get rid of all this weird sloppy paper liquid. Right. Okay. If you like animals, you're not going to like this Lego story time. Humans are surrounded by amazing inventions we completely take for granted. But surely, of all the inventions around us that we take for granted, paper is at the top of that list. I mean, in a lot of countries, we literally wipe our bums with it. Come on, there's no other amazing invention that gets that kind of treatment. Probably the best way to win new respect for an invention is to think about what life was like before it. So before paper, some countries were using papyrus. Where I am, in the UK, people were writing on parchment. You know parchment. You've heard of parchment from ye olden times. Here is a map of Henry VIII's house written on parchment. Here's Magna Carta. Wizards and witches use it all the time, don't they? You get some paper, you stain it with tea and you burn it, you've got parchment, right? Well, here is how you make parchment. You get an animal, quite often a sheep, and you take the skin off it. You don't use the woolly side of the skin. You use like an inner layer of the skin, and you put that in a bucket full of a kind of natural bleach and let it to soak for a few days. And then you stretch it over a wooden frame, and then you get a knife and you scrape all the hair off. That's it. And you keep stretching the frame and scraping and stretching and scraping and stretching and scraping, and then you give it a good shave, and then you let it dry, and then you give it a little massage with a stone, little pumice, and then you dust it with some chalk, and voila! So it's just like paper, but with more depth, and skin. If you like not very popular Shakespeare plays, you might have known that already, because in Henry VI Part 2, a classic, a character complains about how rules and documents are always causing people trouble. Is not this a lamentable thing, that of the skin of an innocent lamb should be made parchment? That parchment being scribbled o'er should undo a man. Some say the bee stings, but I say 'tis the bee's wax. Beeswax, yeah? Because they used to seal the parchment with beeswax. It's not the bee that stings, it's the beeswax, because laws are rubbish. He was very good. So parchment and vellum, which was similar but thicker and probably made from younger animals. It was very expensive, obviously, because of all that faffing, and it was very hard to make, and eventually Europe found out about this cheap, convenient paper stuff and started using that instead. But paper actually only really became popular in the 1400s, because this animal skin parchment, it did have some advantages. It burned a lot less easily than paper, it didn't rot as easily, and it lasted for thousands of years, like literally thousands of years. If you know your history, this is thousands of years going by. So it still got used to write down important stuff. You might not think that we need to write stuff down now that we've got computers, but who knows how long computers are going to last? Really? In the 1980s, adults in the room might know where I'm going with this. The BBC ran something called a Doomsday Project, where they collected information from loads of different people, like millions of people, about everyday life, so that people in the future could see it. They did thousands of interviews, they made maps and like virtual walkthroughs. Over 10,000 schools took part, and they stored all this information they'd collected on the latest piece of technology, the laser disc. Here is the machine that was built specially to play the Doomsday Laserdisc. What could possibly go wrong? Well, yes, technology moved on, and new computers could not read the Laserdiscs, and eventually the machines became so rare that the information couldn't be accessed at all. Nearly 20 years later, with a lot of money and work, they did retrieve it. But lesson was learned. Maybe writing on animal skin is actually essential. In Britain, actually, the law was written on vellum until 2015. In fact, they're still using it. They're only for the front and back covers for tradition. The government decided that it was too expensive and changed to paper instead. But yeah, until 2015, British laws were written on vellum or parchment. Here is what it looks like inside the Parliamentary Archives. Look at all that vellum. That's all our laws. I mean, Britain have been making laws for a really long time. So if you're ever passing the House of Parliament, don't need to try and get in, but it's in the highest tower of the House of Parliament. All that stuff. The marriage certificate of William and Kate, you know, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, that was written on vellum. Here they are. Ooh. So next time you have, let's say, an interaction with paper, just have a think about how it could be an awful lot worse and have a little bit more appreciation for the simple inventions around us. The end. Yay, I love paper. Phew. Okay. That was Lego Storytime for this week. Thank you so much for joining me. Every Lego Storytime show is just a new adventure. I didn't know any of that stuff that I just told you like a week ago, and now I do, and I will never forget it. So I hope that you enjoyed it too. I'm just going to go over to my Facebook page, because if you're watching live on YouTube, then whenever I'm live on YouTube, I always have a little Facebook post saying, if you're watching live and you want to say hello, then please say hello, because there's no comments on YouTube, which is probably good. You've got to have somewhere where you can just watch and not have to put up with me chatting in the comments, especially if you're watching on catch-up. But now I'm going to say hello to people who are on Facebook. If you are enjoying these, if you think that this is worth money, you can actually pay me. The only reason that you can all watch this and that I'm not working in some sort of school is because people who watch choose to pay me £5 a month. So you don't have to, obviously. You can just like and subscribe and share and do all those other cool things. But if you want this, if you can afford £5 a month and you think that I am worth it, where me pen top, you guys are so great. You can go to my about section. It takes you to this website called Coffee, where you can send me £5 a month, and that equals my extreme gratitude. And also, I'll send you nice things. There. One of the nice things that I will send you is Theatre of Science magazine. It is a very good time to sign up. I'm going to have to stop doing this deal, actually, very soon. Maybe, what day? It's Friday tomorrow. I'll maybe say that tomorrow's the last day. Usually when you sign up, you get sent a little welcome pack with some rainbow glasses and a past issue of Theatre of Science magazine. And then you have to wait loads of months until I've written a new one, and I'll send you that because you'll be on the list. But because the new magazine's just come out, I'm doing this thing where you'll get this when you sign up. This is on mould. It's brilliant. I'm really proud of this one. Free compostable plastic bag so you can grow your own mould. Choose your own adventure. You are working in a museum as a mould expert. Will you be fired or will you be promoted? Beautiful comic that my husband illustrates about the discovery of penicillin and how it was not just one bloke. There was a woman involved. You'll get that, and then very soon after that, you will receive the new magazine, which is on weeds. It's got a game in it to help you learn all the common weeds that are around you. Right, hello B and Barnaby. I'm going to read my Facebook comments now. Oh, and there's Casper. Well, oh, nice, I've even got a photo. Oh, you were here making paper before. Yeah, a lot of you have been coming for a really long time, eh? Oh yeah, it's looking good. It's looking mushy. We got dog hair in ours. Oh. But that's good. That's super authentic. That's exactly what Kai Lun would have done. Just gather together bits of animal hair. No, the grosser, the better, I'm sure. Hello, Molly. Oh, good to see you. Oh, and Casper's friend, Iris. Iris, sorry, I did not say hello to you. Hello, Iris. Oh, that's nice. Hello, Joe and Emma. Emma is quite excited about this one. She's fascinated by China. Oh, I'd love to go to China, especially now I've watched loads of videos on the History Channel. I really want to go to China. Oh, hello, Aaron and Hope. Hello. Yeah, I do really like story time. I agree that it is fun. Oh, Musa has joined the Science Alliance. What? Musa, hello. This list of names just keeps getting longer. Musa, hello. Oh, Sally, you must be pleased that you're not the last name anymore. And Eunice and Arthur and Suki, obviously. Hello to you as well. Thanks for coming, dudes. Science Day for all of us. Oh, Laurie, hello. You excited to make paper? Did it work okay? You could tell that NatWest have been trying to sell me a mortgage. I've got a reminder of that now in my paper forever. I don't think it's going to be good enough to write on yet. Shall I try? Oh yeah, that's all right. You should wait until yours is dry. Yeah, just as good as the normal stuff. Mine and Iris's paper looks like grey catsick. Yeah. Oh, hello, Michaela and Tegan. Watching for the first time. Tegan, Michaela, welcome to the Science Lines. That's what they call themselves. I didn't make any of this up. I didn't decide that the Theatre of Science mascot would be a worm. This lot did, but they have the best ideas. Ava and Will are back. Hello, Ava. Sometimes I'm going to call you Ava, and sometimes I'm going to call you Ava, just to shake it up. And you get to be surprised each time. Right, Laurie. Jackie's very excited for this one. Yeah, Jack, me too, actually. I didn't know anything about Kylan invented paper. All right, Lewis. Yes, well done. You are correct. You're doing your research. Oh, Bastian. Yeah, you are making paper again. Good. Hello. I knew you were here. Hello, Ellen. Watching with George as he's off school poorly today and the bigger two are still asleep. Oh, yeah, a bit of quality time. Nice. Hello, George. Hope you're feeling, obviously not feeling all right. I hope you're that kind of ill where you do get to like sit on the sofa and watch telly and eat snacks. That's the best kind of ill. Hello, Lily. Good to see you. Oh, Tor. Hello, Tor. Imogen and Ophelia back. Excellent. Louis and Gabe. All right. And Otto. And there's Aaron and Hope. Oh, and apparently most relevant is selected. Honestly, Facebook is just constantly trying to turn us against each other. If I haven't mentioned you, you're still relevant to me. B and Barnaby, can we do anything with the water? Oh, that's a good question. Can we do anything with water? No. That's probably... If you haven't used loads of colour, you can possibly compost it. Stick it on the compost. But I wouldn't judge you if you just put it down the drain either. Oh, all right, Archer. Squooshing. Archer, I nearly missed the word squooshing. Loved squooshing his mushed up paper. Very cathartic. Yeah, I agree. Some people don't like getting messy, but you probably could tell that I enjoyed it. Oh, Molly's here. All right, Molly. Dylan from Truro. Hello. You're glad most people still don't use sheep. Yeah, there is only one company in the whole of Britain that still makes vellum. Apparently they're quite popular. I'll tell the people who are still watching this. Because it's made from an animal, it's got unique DNA kind of fingerprint, right? So it's quite a good way of stopping art fraud, because if you're an artist and you've done some art on some vellum, you can keep a tiny little scrap of the vellum, and if someone else tries to copy your artwork, you can easily prove that it's a fake because the DNA on their artwork won't match the DNA of your little bit of paper. It's good, isn't it? So I'm glad you mentioned that. Didn't make me think of that. You put dried lavender buds in your paper. Laurie, it's just showing off. That is very nice. You could sell that for a lot of money on Etsy, probably. Oh, hello, Tallulah in Hull. Oh, I was at Hull a couple of weeks ago at your Dinosaur Museum. So good. Such a lot of love in my heart for Hull. Very jealous that you live there. Oh, all right, Ed. Didn't see you there. Oh, hello, Kerry. Oh, you love the magazine. Oh, that's good. Theo's here. Jolly good. Oh, and there's Matty and Ivan. Oh, I've got pictures with all your paper slops. Thanks, Matty and Ivan. It is nice seeing you well, not in real life, you know what I mean. Oh, hello, Emric. Hello. Sorry, Emric, if you've just been sat there like, oh my days, just want to go and have second breakfast, but she won't stop talking. Oh, hello, Alice and Oscar. Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed that. And Edward and Richard. Hello. Right. Oh, Kian's here. Hello. Have I said hello to everyone? I feel like I should let you all go. Ellen's here. Nice. Ed's here waving again. 3 more comments. Late comment. Right, I still saw it though. And Otto. Brilliant. Okay. Whew, right. Yeah. I'm going to go. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for all your support. And yeah, I'll see you next week. I haven't decided what next week's is on, but I'll put it up on my event section as soon as I do. Until then, lots of love. If you haven't done my IGCSE physics lesson yet and you want to, it's going to be live on YouTube at 2 p.m. because it went so wrong yesterday. I'm just going to teach it live again. So yeah, if you really want to make a science day of it, I'll see you then. Otherwise,